which is why I know about lavaliers and things like that. So, that's what this type of microphone is. So, all right, so today is October the 16th, 2019. So let's go ahead and start class for our benefit. So today I'm repeating a lot of information I've already taught, but again showing variations on it and what we can do. So I wanted to focus on our alignment today. Some of it is like, do I hear Sherry upstairs? Nope, that's my mother. So I talked about before, in order to come into your standing posture, and I have this in my notes. I've learned standing posture from two different teachers, and one of them had the Qigong background and really emphasized the Qigong, and the other one really emphasizes learning the posture before you learn the energetics. So I've looked through my notes and other things, and they're pretty much identical, but there are some different emphases. So I will just go over the information today. But for alignment, they always say women have wider hips, and so you always stand a little bit wider, et cetera, et cetera. I like measuring it right from here. So I don't like going wider. I go here, and I'm going, even though that's actually about an inch out from my arch, if I bring that up, that's pretty much in line with my foot. So that's how I'm keeping my alignment. Let me turn off this phone. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this would be too narrow if I brought it all the way over to my arch. But if I place it here and I can measure it from the inside inguinal groove here, and then if I slide this forward, that's pretty much where my toe is at. Because the tricky thing about the feet is the arch curves in. And so your foot's a little bit thinner. But that is nice and narrow. You've got your feet hip width apart right in there. And I can measure it here, and I can measure it here. And just in the past, the first way I learned, we were always emphasizing how deeply we can bend our knees. And the further you go out, you could feel that if you step further out, that takes your ball out of socket. So this is your horse stance. And again, I've seen it in China. It's become very fashionable to do these really, really wide horse stances. The problem with really, really wide horse stances, and I'll turn so the camera can see as well, is the knees fall in. And that is, the knees will fall in or the ankle will fall in. I'm not doing a really wide horse stance because I shouldn't because of my hip right now. So now I've seen two teachers who say that the horse stance should only be as wide as if you're riding your horse and your feet are in the stirrups. And the most recent one that I got from the Qigong workshop is she goes, well, if this is your Wuji stance, to get to your horse stance is you rotate out here, and there's your horse stance. And it's wider than hip width. So horse stance is wider than hip width, and it's a nice pushing and spreading here, but you should be able to still keep your knees over your feet. And then for your standing posture or your Wuji posture, I like measuring it from the inguinal groove. But if you measure from the inguinal groove and then put on the outside of the hips, that is touching the outside of my foot. That's a nice measurement there. But for instance, that's very different than this. That obviously is very far away from the foot on both. You're not stacked. So the horse stance has a purpose. It really stretches the inside meridians here. And again, we'd want to go wider, we'd want to go deeper. That was very fashionable to do. And I've seen Chinese where their knees can stay over their toes, but as soon as the knees start doing this, that's what's hard on your knees and you should avoid. So that's a way you can get the measurement. So my original training, I love, sometimes it's all about the words. How do you describe how you get there? Is your feet are standing on railroad tracks. So, parallel on railroad tracks. What I've found over the years, though, is sometimes I still couldn't quite settle into it or feel like I could get my hips over my feet. And what it is I started paying attention. My ankles would be splayed out one way or another. I'd been so focused on my toes, I wasn't paying attention to what my ankles were doing. So they say your feet are staying forward as if on railroad tracks. Your knees should be over your feet, and you want them to be under the hips. So we've already said measure it from inguinal groove. You can check to the outside. They say women's hips are wider. But if you look at your own hip placement, just measuring inguinal groove in here, your feet, your knees, your hips, your knees, your feet. Now, again this month I took a workshop, and it finally solved that problem with sometimes I noticed my feet weren't straight, that they were a little bit crooked. So if you push your ankles out, and then that also disengages your gluteus maximus here. And then you can just relax that back and point the tailbone towards the earth, and then bring the feet all the way in, and that pushes the femur up into that ball socket, and then bring them to neutral. That helps me find where my feet should be. So I'll do that, okay, feet on railroad tracks, get my knees over my feet, get that basic setting, and then flare the ankles out, relax the back, bring the ankles in. I feel my femur being pressed into that ball socket, and then it's here. And then if you look at the measurement, oh, that's measured, feet, knees, hip, and even on the outside, and you're nicely stacked all the way through. And with the tailbone dropped, you should have a nice flat back here. And so the concept is to stack everything in these bones, and if you're stacked like this, and particularly since the tailbone is dropped, it takes a sway out of the back, so it takes the pressure off your low back. And the idea is that it's as if you're sitting on a stool because your bones are stacked, and you can sit in this position for a long period of time. So if you have a standing job, et cetera, you're not having all the small muscles of your back being pulled. And then we use gravity, and this, because the bones are stacked and aligned, you can allow all the muscles to relax because you don't have to use any of the muscles to hold your body up. So I'm going to focus more on the upper body at a later time, but this is the building blocks for the lower body. So we can put this down because now from here, understanding this lower body helps you understand your swinging arms as you can relax this upper body. And I'll just make a small comment on the upper body and go into it more later. Because I've seen this in Tai Chi, in the standing pose, they'll say, relax the chest. And I've seen so many people go like this. And this is not anatomically correct, or this rounding of the chest. I like to say you stack the chest here and have it be over the hips, because then your spine is perfectly in alignment and you relax the arms. So I thought, why would they say round the chest? And I do have a theory. I don't know if it's correct, but if this was taught in the military, how do guys walk around? In which case you would have to tell them, do this. And soften this in here, because you do want this area to be soft, but you don't want it to be collapsed. So hips, shoulders over the hips, these arms stacked here. And then the crown of the head is, you do imagine that there's a string on the crown of your head pulling you upwards. And if you want to know where the crown of your head is, you find the tips of your ears, and you trace it up to the top, right where that soft spot would be. And it makes you aware if you're doing this or doing this. And so you want to find where that string would be. You'll notice when you do that, you do have to tuck your chin just a little bit. So when they say tuck the chin, they're not talking about this, but doing this, and you'll feel that it, right where the C1 cervical spine is that it, just like pressing the femur up to the hips, it will set it right, the base of the skull will rest right on the top of your cervical spine. And it's very strong and very comfortable. So now your entire spine is in alignment. And this would be your standing meditation where you let gravity pull and elongate everything out. But for swinging arms, this is the standing posture. Now it's important to keep the knees over the feet. You don't want to be doing this. I've seen so many people do this with swinging arms. Now you just turn this hip and you notice how your arms can swing. And at the same time, you just feel that that string pulling you upwards to elongate the spine. Now, Mary, keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to come in. No, you don't need to go deep. What it is that your knees were still twisting. Okay. So you want to feel it in here engage to help hold the knees steady. That looks much better because you don't want to do wear and tear in your knees. So today's swinging arms, I always do different emphases, is how to massage the spine. And so you get a good foundation with the legs, feel yourself pulled upwards by that string towards heaven. And I want you to focus on your lower spine and twist in such a way that you imagine you're twisting the lowest vertebrae in that lumbar spine. And just feel it. Massage that lumbar as you pull and extend yourself up. You do that for 2 or 3 swings. And then move up to the next vertebrae. And feel how it's massaging that vertebrae from side to side as you pull yourself up. And at the same time, allow the tailbone to relax and drop towards the earth. So you're feeling this upward pull and this downward weight that's elongating your spine and then supported by your legs. And then move up an inch and do the next vertebrae. And feel how it opens up that vertebrae. And then drop the tailbone, allow it to pull towards the ground and the crown of the head to pull up. And do the next vertebrae, working your way up the spine. Massaging. Keep the shoulders dropped and relaxed if you can. Mom, what you're doing is fine. You're just doing more of an upper part of the spine. I just don't want people to do this when I say dropped and relaxed, just so you know. And then do the next vertebrae, drop the tailbone. Feel yourself being pulled up. And the next vertebrae, getting to the thoracic, the area of the rib cage. And feel the tailbone drop, pulling yourself up. Doing the next vertebrae in the area of the rib cage. And whenever I bring my awareness there, I just notice the way I twist shifts just a little bit to get the different parts of my spine. And then do the next vertebrae. I'm starting to feel some nice releases just below my shoulder blades. Drop the sacrum, elongate. Next vertebrae up. I'm in the area between my scapulas right now. Feel some areas of tension. Release, and every time it releases, I do an exhale. It naturally happens for me. I bring my awareness. Okay, drop the tailbone. Elongate my spine, move up to the next vertebrae. My arms will naturally shift. I'm noticing now my arms, when they're tapping a little bit higher on my body. And that's because I'm now in the area of the scapulas. In order to massage and twist that area, my arms are actually tapping my arms, coming more across my torso, because I'm really focusing on moving that part of my torso, even though I'm still turning at the hips. Hey, dropping the tailbone, elongate, going up a little bit more. I'm now in that more upper area of the scapulas. Obviously some tension in there. I had a cold this weekend, so it's probably massaged my lungs a little bit more. Making sure I drop my shoulders. Heavy up a little bit more. And now I feel like I'm just below C7, which is the vertebrae that's the biggest right before it gets into the neck. Okay, and so now I'm going to let it all go. And I'll still swing, but just kind of a general swing. And this one, let's add the shake to our wrists. This is my way of adding in Qigong for arthritis into my Tai Chi. In my swinging arms as a massage therapist, I use my wrists, my arms a lot. So this is the way I relax my arms. Just kind of searching, feeling a little bit of tension in my left arm, so I'm taking a moment just to swing, massage. I can tell it's massaging my pectoralis, actually, in the area of the lungs. Again, I've had a cold, so it has some tension in there. Massaging the lungs, helping me take a deeper breath. 3, 2, 1. Okay, take a moment, just bounce and shake your shoulders. So let's do a little review of Fly Like Wild Geese, the one to open up the arms. And then we will go into our roll, and then I'll backtrack a little bit. There's another variation of the swinging arms I want to do. So the Fly Like Wild Geese, I will turn. What you're going to do, you're just going to be moving the arms, and you don't go like this. You want to drop, and notice this shaking is a twisting motion for me. Going, let's see, no, I pretty much do a twisting motion because it gets to my elbows. And what I notice is it goes up into my scapula when I do that. Because it's what's called supination pronation, which really works the arms. But, I keep all my muscles loose as I do it. I'm not thinking about a lot. I'm noticing, it becomes more of a shaking as I come up to the side. So I'm shaking about the head, but I'll drop my elbows and I'll drop my shoulders. And I'll let the vibration travel up into my scapulas. And I'll stretch all the way down the leg into my big toe to get a nice side stretch. And I'll come back. And here I'm getting more of my twisting motion this way, opening up my shoulders. And I'll come up to the side, shaking. And come back down. Now, in the Qigong for arthritis I've seen, because I've viewed a couple, they will do something like a swinging arms, or something that massages the abdomen to bring blood flow to the organs or the nervous system, and then they'll work the joints. So this is also a nice combination for that. And we'll do one more. And back to center. How do those arms feel? Very tingly. So now we're going to be doing one of our spinal stretches. It's going to be the one that also gets the rib cage. And so, Mom, this might be one you can do, or you can just watch. It's up to you. Okay. So you can either roll down or you can bend forward, but I'm going to go ahead and bend forward just to give you the starting point. This one, it can be done with a hip hinge and hang forward. And my starting point is I start with my palms facing me. And how much you involve the legs is going to be up to you. So I'm going to start just with my legs straight and my knees locked, and then I'll show you how to involve the legs in the second part. Make sure these arms are nice and loose. And what I want you to do is turn so then the palms are facing this way. So they're facing the wall. And what you should feel, if you look for a moment, Mary, is you should feel stretch all the way down the side when you've rotated like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sit. Can you feel it here yet? I feel it right here. And the way you're leaning, that makes sense. I think as you start to come up, start rolling up vertebrae. Nope. Roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. You're not quite getting enough of a lean here. Come over, and I actually want you to feel this. Because what I see you doing, go ahead and feel my low back. What I see you do is you're turning, but you're turning the arms, and then you're just going like this. What I want you to do is actually turn the body, not the shoulders. The shoulders can move separate from the rib cage. So even though my hands are moving, because watch, I can turn my hands, my shoulders, without engaging the body. I want you to move the rib cage, and that's what turns, and the arms just happen to be attached. Okay. and make that separation. Because you could go like this and just go like, and that's why you're only filling into the low back. So the intent is to engage the rib cage when you turn. So start here, and I want you to fill it in the rib cage, and don't move your arm muscles at all. But the arm should end up twisted, because that's how far you've moved the rib cage. That's starting to look better, yes. Now, start to roll up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Yep. Could you feel that roll up?
Yeah, but still, I was still feeling cool here.
And I couldn't quite feel everything engaged, so come over and feel. And this is why we're going to take each of these movements slow, because building that awareness of how to engage different parts of your body. So I'm here. I'm going to leave my arms loose. I've turned. Can you feel that stretch? Yes. Now, feel how that opens, how I've engaged. And notice how my arm actually has to come up because of how much I've leaned to the side. And then I bring this arm up. And the reason it's not so much about the arm is that this is how the position the shoulder needs to be in, so I can lean like this. And then I'll take the arm behind me just to happen to open up. Right. Now also, come over and feel this. You might need to start from an upward position and go down so you can get the body memory. Because if you were to start like this, you probably recognize this kind of stretch. Yeah. And that's what you're doing on the way down, is this kind of side stretch on the way down. Yeah. And then come back to center. So try it. Let me watch you. Yep, so turn to the side. And I'm going to come over and feel. There you go. Twist. And then start to roll up. You should start to feel that. Oh, and you are tight right there. So, I mean, you can even hang out in places and allow that to elongate and open. And as you come higher, you're going to have to, you don't need to turn. You can take this up and back, because that will then just open up the fascia from the ribs into the arm.
Oh, that was better. It was less tight here.
Right. And so you're engaging here rather than your low back. And so that is a way that you can actually guide people in feeling their spine. Mom, can I use you as a model? I don't know how much you're aching today. Okay. Do you want to be a model for a movement or two? Oh, okay. Here, let's model hugging. Okay. So let me show you the first exercise that I learned is, Mom, go ahead and bend all the way forward. And this is a little bit different, but it's a way to build awareness. So I'm going to start here. And Mom, I want you to roll up the spine, but I'm going to, keep going. As you roll up, I'm going to use my fingers, keep going, to help you feel each vertebrae as you roll up. And up, and up, and up, and up, and up, and up, and up. To the top. Did that help you feel how your spine was articulating? All right, now let's switch places. I want you to do it to me, and I'm going to mimic a stiff person. Which part of me might be stiff, who knows? Let's find out. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to roll up the spine. But you'll notice that I'm not engaging or rolling my low back. And I'll stop them. I'm like, no, bend right here, if you can. And then I'm like, no, bend, round into it, round into it, round into it. And that's how I can teach them rolling up the spine, is getting that awareness. Now, how you can do this at home, you could potentially get a corner like a door and practice rolling your spine next to the door. Now, for something like this, Mary, let me use you. You're going to do that same thing, but I want you to follow my ribs. So I'm going to turn to the side here. So I'll start with the bottom of my ribs. Can you feel each rib open?
Yes.
And then go to the next rib, the next rib, and the next rib, and the next rib. Now this mimics myofascial release. We go rib by rib and open them up on our client. Now when you're side stretching like that, you can reach and feel yourself. So do it again. And I will see how I can assist. But let's build that awareness of opening up the sides and the ribs. So start forward. And you're going to turn to the side so the palms are out. Yep, keep going. And what I notice is there's going to be a slight twist that will start to happen. Okay, now start to roll up. Hi, honey. That's fine with me. That's educational, honey. And open. And open. Yep, and open. And you start to get a little stuck in there. Now go ahead and bend the arm, relax the arm. Let it come behind you because you're stuck right in there. What, honey? Oh, thank you, honey. That's so polite. Can you feel that? Coming through. Okay, other side. All right. Do you mind coming forward a little bit? It means you'll probably be in the video, but so go ahead and hip hinge forward. And now we're going to go, so the palms will point that way. Yes. And I'm going to turn you here. Yes, and then just start coming up. You want to feel each rib open as you come up the body. Yes, very nice. So that is a way to isolate that. Now, I'm not going to go over in the next piece in detail. I'm just going to say, here's another part and put a pin in it. I was having you hip hinge. And so you're really not engaging the legs. And my injury is in my hip. And so I was talking to my chiropractor. I'm like, so what can I do to not make it worse? He goes, try to not put all of your weight on it. So this is why I teach you this way, because if I do that stretch this way, I'm keeping my weight 50-50, not putting all my weight on it. Another technique for this one is to put all of your weight on one leg and drop down and bend the knee and push through the foot. And so you're learning how to engage the leg and do the lean at the same time, which has a lot of martial applications because I see this in the Tai Chi roll down and roll up. It's learning how to push through the leg and roll all the way through the body, which is a thing. But I also notice when I focus on my legs, sometimes I lose my ribs. So it depends on what you want to work on. Do you want to practice engaging from the leg through the rib cage and out, or do you just need to open up your rib cage? For you, I'd focus on just opening up your rib cage in those sides. And as that rib cage opens, you're going to be able to breathe deeper. So by doing the swinging arms, you're going to be massaging the abdomen and the spine, helping that area open so you can breathe deeper, and then these side stretches, you'll breathe deeper that way. Okay, quick drink of water. And let me review my notes. How are you doing, Mary?
I'm just a little bit warm, but I'm all right.
Let me see. Sorry, what was that, Mom? Okay. Okay, so there, I'm going to have a quick drink of water. There is a swinging arm variation I wanted to go over just to touch on a concept of body mechanics. And then there was a lot of questions last week about the smiling heart rippling pond. So then we're going to spend the rest of the class doing energy work and meditating on how that works. All right. So, doctor says, keep the weight off this hip. Which then I'm actually surprised because I'll do a lot of things with my left leg now, not my right leg. And what I do is I immediately go into this stance, which is crane stance that I learned in Qigong, but also can be one of the Tai Chi poses if I start to engage this leg. But this is a way you can keep your balance when you're on one leg. You can do swinging arms on one leg. So I'm going to turn this direction so it's easy to see. And instead of having my foot straight, I will have it slightly splayed to the side to keep my balance. But it's the same thing where you want to keep your knee over your foot. And then I will relax my back straight down and keep my foot here for balance. And so this is properly stacked, so it becomes easy. And I tell people, imagine you're pulling a rope to the side. And notice how when you do that, you twist down. This is coiling. Apparently in Western medicine, they call this loading the joint, which is what I've been told not to do because I have swelling in my joint. So what this body mechanic is can you feel how you really start to engage the muscles here? This is potential energy, coiling. So then if you really want to push, all you have to do is uncoil and push back. Now you don't need to lean that far, just so you know. And I shouldn't because I can't put pressure on this leg. But actually in Tai Chi, sometimes you would, sometimes you wouldn't. Depends on if you need to shift the weight to the front or not. If you need to keep, so let me explain the variables here. Here's coiling potential energy. Notice how my hips are turned to the side, which is Tai Chi. You have now turned around your center line. You can uncoil and just turn your hips forward and keep the weight here. Or if you're doing Tai Chi and want to go into your bow stance, that's when this weight would automatically just sink to the front. But I can only do one leg of Tai Chi right now. So I'm showing some body mechanics, and as this gets better, I'll be able to do more. But this is coiling. Coil in, and you turn the hips to the side, coil out, and because I have to baby this leg, I just turn my hips forward and I still keep my weight back. And I've still, just with that, I've gotten a lot of pressure. And I'm only touching, you notice this stance, I only have my toe on the ground. That's enough to keep my balance. And that's one of the postures. So here, coil, release, coil, release. And that visualization of pulling a rope, you'll see this pulling 9 oxen. I mean, they actually have names for it in different Qigongs where they practice this. What was it? Pulling wild horse's mane will have this kind of coiling. Well, it's this, but I'll show you that in a second. But there's coil, release. Now, last week I touched on it a little bit. I talked about coiling the arm. So if the palm is flat, or it can be slightly turned out, start with the pinky and go pinky, index, middle. So again, it has this grab motion going here. And again, it's a coiling. This is how you can set this arm into this joint, remember? Mm-hmm. And so if you notice when you coil this way, you're setting this ball socket into the joint, right? And if you coil this way, coil, and bring this elbow in. That's about a hand length out. This elbow is about in line with this hip. Feel how strong that coiling is? And release. Coil, release, coil. And see how you've engaged your pectoralis? You can, anyways. I'm telling you to engage multiple muscles at a time, but we'll practice this individually. Release. But you can tell it's down here versus up here, versus your upper shoulders. Mm-hmm. So now what you do, pick up your yardstick. Watch this. Here, there's your coil, and that's a deflection. Your release would be your thrust. And just thrust palm up. And then coil. Palm facing you. Palm up. Coil. Yep. Now as you do it, coil the hips too. Coil, so you turn the hips. Now hips turn forward. Hips turn to the side. Hips turn forward. Now you're starting to weight shift a lot. I'm seeing this. Watch my hips. And I can keep it all on one leg. So Turn the center line. Yep. Turn the hips forward. There you go. Turn the hips to the side. Turn the hips forward. Turn the hips to the side. Turn the hips forward. Turn the hips to the side. Turn the hips forward. And relax. That's coiling. And it's your let's see, loading here, potential energy, locking the joint in here. Shoop. This is a very, very strong position. No one can knock me over here, or at least it's very difficult to. And this is anatomically correct, very strong. And both of them have built up a lot of kinetic energy. And that's how I blew out this hip. But it was already weak, that being said. So that's our lesson on coiling, and I'm going to keep coming back to these concepts, feeding you guys a little bit at a time. But the coiling and things will get easier if you don't have a lot of restrictions. So if you just focus on, like ribs this week, and the swinging arms, twisting and ringing, opening up the spine, you're going to be a healthier person, and this stuff will become easier. And I've got swelling here, and how to combat swelling is don't put weight on it. But the breathing exercises we do to bring blood flow here will help it heal faster. So what we're going to do next is the rippling pond, and I should sit for this one. So a chair for you, chair for me. Let me check the camera for the setup here. And also blow my nose. And let me think. We're going to do something a little different today. So let me check in with my body, see how I'm doing. I'll be able to stand. This one is we're going to each do energy work on each other. It's a new thing. So Mom, can I have you be the monkey in the middle first? And Mary, you and I are going to stand one in front and one behind my mother. And we each are going to take turns in the chair, giving and receiving. So Mary, let me have you stand in front of your mother, and I'm going to stand behind. So last week I had questions about how do you do this with nature, the rippling pond? And I said, well, this is a very outward, and you can feel each other's energetic field and loving intention, and so that's why I like doing it in nature, is because I feel like I can interact with the trees and the flowers and do my meditations. For this is one where we all start breathing and doing this meditation together to help bring up a person's energy, our own and the person in the center. So Mom, you just get to be here and relax, and then you're going to have a chance to be on the outside. And so when we talk about people's energy field, there's one that's really, really close. And then the heart field is about 2 feet away. And then the spiritual field is 4 feet away and often to infinity. So the smiling heart, I've seen this where we've done it in massage school with a group of 10. And, so with a group of 10, it's a fairly large circle. If it's small like this, within 2 feet, so we don't need to be this close to her. So just right about here. So, and what it is rippling pond, when we describe it, I always say imagine your fingers are stroking against the surface of a pond. You're actually stroking against her energy fields. And my teacher described it as feather brushing and smoothing out her energy field, and we're actually going to be building this as well. So the first thing we're going to do is let's practice getting to our standing position. So, okay, feet hip width, knees, hips. But to really set it, I turn my ankles out, I drop my tailbone, I bring my ankles in, which I feel my femur get set into my hips, and then I bring them to center, and now I feel like my feet are straight. And then relax the tailbone, relax the shoulders. Imagine that there's a string on the crown of your head pulling you upward. Your tailbone is sinking downward, so you have a nice long spine between these two, the up and the down. Turn the palms out. And the first thing for smiling heart is to smile. And I breathe to my lower dantian to make sure I'm taking slow, deep breaths. Tongue at the roof of the mouth. But then I also start to breathe to the heart and smile. If you have a prayer or a mantra or an affirmation that you say to express love or gratitude, you can say it silently to yourself. I just get an image of me standing in my garden in front of all my beautiful flowers and that wonderful heartfelt sunshine energy, or that feeling of being in nature. I bring on that vibration of what it means to be calm and peaceful and rested. And now I'll bring the hands in front of you. And we're going to begin with rippling pond. And Mom, you just stay still and breathe and receive, whatever's comfortable. So Mary, inhale, come up. Imagine your fingers are stroking a pond. And exhale down. And continue. Feeling the warmth and energy in the fingertips. Keeping your shoulders relaxed, leading with the wrists. Keep the elbows dropped. And one more. And then to close, you take a step back, pulling down the heavens. Imagine warm energy flowing through your body, rooting you into the earth. And let's do it 2 more times, Mary, to teach you, because you want to now disconnect from this. So inhale, come up. So as this closure, you're feeling energy run through your body, but this is your body. You are disconnecting from the energy we were just sharing. You're rooting your energy into the ground. And I usually go right at the end to really root down. And I have to visually do that after each massage to make sure I have, because we were all vibrating together right there. We can look at that from a Western medicine standpoint, that we all of our nervous systems were vibrating together. So we feel happy. My mom will start to feel that uplifting, happy energy. And when everything vibrates together, we all dilate, we all get warm, facilitates healing. But we can walk away and still vibrate with this person. So you do want to make sure you are your own person. And that's how you could get sick as a massage therapist, as you vibrate with so many people. Every time your nervous system vibrates, you release hormones. And if I work on an angry person, a sad person, a bipolar person, I'll go home and my nervous system is shot. So with every interaction, there is a connection and then there's a close. There's a connection and then there's a close. Good way to not take stuff home with you. All right, how are you feeling, Mom?
Warmer.
Warmer. So that is, like I said, Eastern, Western, we just start to breathe and vibrate together, which then, if someone has always been giving and taking care of someone else, can help build their energy. Were you taking care of him? Oh, was he shouting?
No, he was hungry.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Good night. He goes, wait a minute, Jack.
Oh, you can't forget. Oh. So do you feel strong enough to do this, to stand and do it with me, Mary? Okay, so Mary, you get to be in the center. And Mom, let me be where you are, so I have the experience of being in the front and you have the experience of being in the back. So we each will get a different position. Now, if you were, so for instance, Mom, if it's just you and Mary, what you could do is 8 to the back.
This is why being around little kids is so energizing and so happy.
There's that too. Or the garden, or outside. Nature, rocks, stones, everything has its own vibration and your nervous system will start to interact with that. So if you're by yourself, you could do 8 strokes here and come to the side, do 8 strokes here, come to the front, do 8 strokes here, come to the side, do 8 strokes here. He's a little young. He just does the snuggling one. If a person is sick and they can't sit or stand, you can, this is what we do on the massage table, stroking head to foot.
So
Energetic.
I've been like touching down.
That stroking. And well, the physical touch, yeah, and if someone, particularly as they get old or sick, if their skin can't handle touch, bruising, other things, you could just go right above it in the energy field, and that warmth, there's that slight interaction. If you do very light feather touching, that's even in the Western world, we'll say comfort touch, very light. Not enough to move blood or lymph or anything, but just that gentle nervous system stimulation of comfort. So these are just the different levels we can do. So, but it's all about intention. So now I'm going to face Mary. And so, Mom, we're going to practice getting into our stance. Because imagine doing this to someone for 15 minutes. You don't want to hurt. So that's then why the body stacking is so important. So feet as if on railroad tracks, knees forward, hips. And then to help me get into my alignment further, I turn my heels out, because then that disengages the glutes. It's easier for me to drop my spine and flatten the back. And then I'll bring them all the way in, and I will feel my femur go right into the hip socket, and then I'll bring them to neutral. And that's how I know I've got my feet straight. And I got my knees, my back is relaxed, string on the crown of the head. I've stacked my chest here, relaxed my shoulders. So I'm not here, and I'm not here. If you were to look at me from the side, you'd be able to measure the center of my arch over my knee, to my hip, to my shoulder, to my neck here. Now, if I find the crown here, there's a slight tuck to the chin. You don't need to be very deep. But again, you'll feel that joint, and you'll just feel the joint, it rest right there. And this hip is always just a little crooked. I can tell by looking to the side, I still can't stand quite straight. So that's just, every time I go into Wuji, I'm like, oh, I still have to make some micro adjustments